going to be talking about Fiesta, our business idea. So, why is it that when I call my cousins in the Philippines, they can speak to me in English, to their parents in Tagalog, and to their friends in Ilocano, which is their native dialect, while I'm here struggling to talk about what I had for lunch yesterday in Spanish? Let me tell you why. So recent censuses show that only 20% of Americans say that they can speak more than one language, which doesn't sound like horrible until you hear that 56% of the world say that they can speak more than one language. And if you look region by region, for example, in Europe, almost 40% of people say that they can speak 3 or more languages. So in comparison, the US is just not doing too hot in terms of fluency.
So we conducted our own interviews and we talked to a broad range of people both in and outside of STAB, and we found that students have found that their Spanish classes have been ineffective in teaching them regular conversational skills because these classes tend to focus so heavily on things like grammar or sentence structure. The realistically useful everyday skills tend to take the back seat or get swept under the rug. So 95% of our interviewees said that they were learning a foreign language said that they were doing so in a classroom environment, and then 85% of them said that they were struggling with practicing their target language, and that's where we come in. So then 93% of our interviewees wished that there were more opportunities available to practice their target language, and then 91% of interviewees expressed interest in Fiesta. So there's clearly a need here. And I mean, based on these surveys, we chose our market students, particularly those who have been taking language probably 2 or 3 years or more. And then our age range is likely 18 to 25, give or take. That's just the age range that was most receptive to our idea during interviews.
Yeah, so one of the things we did to survey and look at interest around the school was we left the classroom, walked around, talked to people in the hallways and in classrooms, and the main takeaways that Hannah kind of already went through were that students are obviously learning. They're learning in class, they're learning sentence structure, they're learning grammar, but they don't necessarily get the same level of depth and like immersion that you may through a regular conversation in that target language. And so really what we heard was that students need breaks from these typical classes, because you're not going to want to go outside of Spanish class and just learn more Spanish unless it's in a fun environment and you are actually excited and engaged in what you're learning. And so our goal basically was to offer that type of opportunity outside of the classroom.
So we mentioned that 91% are interested in Fiesta, so now we're going to tell you exactly what that is. So along with our theme of surveys and what we learned, we also learned that the biggest factor in not learning a language outside of school or continuing is time. And time is something that, is very scarce in this day and age. So we thought that, what does everyone need to do? Everyone needs to eat, everyone loves to socialize, so we're going to combine being more fluent in specifically Spanish with eating and socializing. So our idea is that people can go to a restaurant and be immersed in our program where everyone, including waiters, so you're speaking Spanish, ordering food, talking with your friends, and in this way you can get the conversation skills that you lack in school. And so, as Hannah mentioned, these would be high school students who first would have to go online and complete a survey as to what level they would like to be immersed in. And we've decided that this isn't necessarily the level that they are. So, for example, if I would consider myself on a scale of 1 to 5, maybe a 3.5 or a 3, and I might want to do like a level 4 table. So I could reserve with my friends, or and say what level we would like to do. Or I could reserve with myself and say, oh, I want to be like on a level 4 table, and that would be the sort of, you would group together everyone who'd want to do the same level. And we chose specifically Tuesday nights because we researched which nights were the slowest for restaurants, and in this way the restaurant could benefit with more customers, and we would, I guess, have like a mutual relationship with a restaurant, which Joe will talk about.
Yeah, so obviously a key part of this is the partnerships we're going to have to foster with local restaurants and organizations. We can't serve food on our own, and we can't teach Spanish on our own. And so we thought that at least for the minimum viable products, we would start with programs that would live inside of local restaurants, specifically restaurants that serve food like in the target, like Spanish food, French food if you're doing French, etc. And so an example of this would be El Puerto, where you could go, our program would live there, and you would be able to talk in Spanish, have a meal in Spanish at that location. And these partnerships would kind of be the launching off point for our organization. We would have to really make those solid and really make good relationships with those places.
And then also we researched a little bit into Speak, which is an organization where I guess people gather and they communicate and do like specific activities for them to speak in their target language together. And the way that we're different than Speak is what I mentioned before, where like time is scarce and making time for this sort of commitment can be difficult. So by multitasking and having an actual meal that you have to do anyway, you would save time. Some other added benefits of our program would be meeting and connecting with people in the community, as our slogan is Eat, Speak, Connect. Also, we talked with a few Spanish teachers at STAB, and they mentioned that they'd be happy to have this sort of program as extra credit because they already do things such as if you go to a play in Spanish at UVA, then you get extra credit, and they thought this would be another great opportunity for that. Also developing confidence in new social situations. Obviously, it's not normal that you go out of your way and have dinner with some people that you might not know before, and this just can develop social skills. And then also benefiting local business, as Joe mentioned, and traveling abroad would be very helpful.
And so earlier we talked a little bit about where this is going to launch off from, but hopefully in the future, once we get this started, it's going to expand a lot. And by that, we specifically are talking about other languages, more locations, and maybe even it's an own restaurant that operates on its own without those partnerships. And so this would allow us to target a broader, obviously more diverse audience. The idea came from us seeing an issue within the student community, but it could easily, we've actually heard interest from like a lot of teachers, a lot of adults who actually might be interested in this.
Okay, so this is kind of how we tested our business idea, because obviously we want to have a prototype to make sure that this would actually work and that we have interest. So last night, a Tuesday night, as Jill said before, the slowest night in restaurants, we had a group of AP and Honors 5 Spanish students come over to my house for tacos, as well as conversation in Spanish. And as you'll see for some videos I'm about to show, we recorded, documented, and then at the end kind of got their response. Okay, so this is kind of a little clip from part of their conversation that I pulled, and Joe will play, and then I'll explain. Okay, so in that little clip, just so you guys know what was happening, they're having this conversation in Spanish, and Emma forgot how to say forgot in Spanish. And so that's why she asked the others who are also in, Jill and Lisa and Emma are all AP, and Maya's Honors 5, and you'll see some other students pop up here and there. I thought this was exactly kind of what we were getting at. It's other students helping each other when they mess up. What I've heard a lot in different classes, and I know from personal experience, is sometimes I'm scared to talk if I don't think I know exactly what I'm saying. I don't want to talk if I don't know a certain word. But amongst friends, it's completely fine to say a word in English and have them help you out. So I thought this is exactly what we were getting at. Okay, and I just wanted to show these images. As we talked about earlier, our slogan's Eat, Speak, Connect. This was our little group in my dining room, and it just really shows how not everyone in this group is like absolutely best friends, but I think they really did get closer, and they kind of have this mutual understanding just from being able to speak in the same language and enjoy this hobby together, all with like the similar goal of wanting to get better. So I thought that was really interesting. Okay, so now we're gonna see two different short clips of some positive responses from our guests, and I'll kind of debrief afterwards.
I think this concept is a good idea because it's more conversational speaking, which you don't necessarily get all the time in class. But I think you should have, like, you need a basis of a language to be able to hold a conversation with someone else. So I think if you know basics of a language, this is a really good idea to, like, further your knowledge.
And plus, you know, you're not worrying about, oh, what will the teacher think of me? She's gonna correct my grammatical errors and all that. It's kind of like a it's like a judgment-free zone. Like, I still have some different from friends, but like, if it's more a community event, then it's pretty non-judgmental, and I think it can further your confidence.
And it's a good way to meet new people around the community too.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our first clip. We're gonna go into the second, and then I'll talk about it.
Okay. I think that's a really good idea because I think a lot of people, especially if you're not in high school, like taking classes, like it's really hard to find. It's really hard to find a place where you can speak Spanish because if you don't live in a community with a lot of like Spanish-speaking people, then it's hard to find. It's hard to find someone to talk with. And so this could be a really good idea for people who are trying to branch out and learn something new, and if they're not in high school or college where they can take classes. That's one where it's like with all these strangers and you can just share this experience of speaking Spanish or French or any other language that you want. And
Yeah. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so this is kind of what I learned from this conversation. It seemed especially in the AP Spanish curriculum, since they are studying for an AP, they really don't have the time to converse, and even those were the DeParis twins talking earlier, and they were just saying that they feel like they've lost a lot of their Spanish because they're just learning about like, okay, how do we solve poverty and like all these different things, which are really good things to like learn and talk about, but at the same time, I also think there's definitely a need for conversation. I also think both of these responses helped us in the way that it shows that our company can definitely grow. Maya touched on a bit about how this is a great way to meet new people, and Katie talked about how when you're older and you're out of high school and you're trying to learn Spanish, it's really hard to find a community to learn with and talk to. So that was really comforting, just seeing that we'll grow, and especially from them who are all, Lisa and Maya in this photo are both trilingual plus speakers, and so it was really helpful hearing that they kind of supported this idea.
And so obviously what we hosted last night is going to be different from what actually happens at a restaurant, but we broke down the profit, or at least what we spent last night. And so it was kind of a group of friends who didn't actually charge money, but we would assume that would happen if the program actually happened. And so for 15 people, everybody had 3 tacos. Piper's dad got the ingredients, and it was around $50, all the utensils and stuff. Basically, we made around $30 profit, and that would be divided with the restaurant or language programs that we would be working with.
And the $6 is a very low baseline at the moment, just because it's just, in its initial stages, and we would definitely begin upping prices just because you can't exactly always charge $6 for dinner.
And it depends about students and different things. It's mainly like, or obviously it'd be different from like a student compared to an adult with like a full-time job, that sort of thing.
And in terms of feasibility, we of course have to spend money on food, and any restaurants with whom we partnered would also want to turn a profit. But there are plenty of benefits as well, both fiscal and personal. There's the income from our actual program, and despite the cost of food, there's a reason why people do go into the restaurant business. We can turn a profit. But the greatest beneficiaries are, of course, the clients. The value of gaining legitimate language skills in a foreign language is immeasurable, and that's why we think that